It's 4K Skywatching time. Let's get started.
Red alert!
Happy Friday, everyone. It's November 21st, 2025, episode 44 of the 4K Skywatching podcast live on Friday nights. Tonight, we're going to be talking about The Age of Disclosure, which is a documentary that just came out and dropped today. And we have a special guest with us, Tim Senior. Tim has also watched it, so we are going to discuss it tonight. It's going to be spoiler free, so we're not going to go deep into any big reveals it may or may not have had. But we're going to talk about our thoughts on it, where we think this is going to lead into the future. I'm going to talk about how it affected me a bit and made me kind of back up a little bit and change a little way I think. And we also got interview just dropped with David Grush on Brett Baer from Fox News. So we got that clip to play. We also have a new product review. I got a new camera, which comes in these glasses here. This is a 4K camera. I've been wanting a body camera for a while, and I got this GoPro Max 360, but it's a great camera for B-roll and video production, but not exactly a body camera. So I kind of wanted this. In a way, for kind of like, I love doing construction work. So when I build stuff and I hit my my thumb with the hammer and you yell the F word, I'm kind of like to get some of these videos. But also, like, when we go out and we do UAP hunting, sometimes they show up right when you get out of the truck or the vehicle, and you see them, and as you're putting your gear together going, you just wait, I'll get a P1000 on you soon, it's gone. So they play a trickster type thing. And with this, maybe I'll get some more footage. I'll at least have footage of me messing with the cameras and doing whatnot. It'll be more B-roll with the GoPro Max. I got about 5 minutes worth of footage of testing this in the daytime and the nighttime. I'm still working on the PVS-7 build. Not happy with it at all. This is not plug and play. It's a pain in the ass. I probably should have got a PVS-14 to tell you the truth. So yeah, here we go. We got quite a bit of video here. So let me bring on my first guest here. I've known Tim for a few years now. Tim and I have a lot of similarities of things we do. We're both Skywatchers, for one. We're both family men and fathers. We spend quite a bit of money trying to figure this out. Tim Senior was a guy, I don't think he was a believer until he had a UFO sighting with his family. And when he sought to believe it, I think that just rocked his whole world and changed his worldview. And what happens with so many people after they see a UFO, if they didn't get it on tape, they become kind of obsessed to get the next one on tape. So they go out and buy gear or new cameras or what have you, hoping that this thing will come back and the next time they will have better evidence or something to show somebody. It happens with so many people. It's actually a pretty normal reaction. But Tim has taken it onto the level kind of where I have. When I look at something like this is my radar, view from my radar camera that's on a pole that goes up over 40 feet high. It's a retractable aluminum pole. I have the most sophisticated UFO collection system out here in the Southwest, hands down. Nobody even comes close to what I'm doing. But what I do is, I think what I'm doing is totally normal. Now, I got neighbors down the street that have boats sitting out in front of their house. And I mean, lots of them. So many that I did a lookup. There are 60 to 80,000 registered boats in the Maricopa County area where I live alone. That's just in the Phoenix area, right? 60,000 boats. I live in Chandler, Arizona. It has about 260,000 people for population. They have approximately 6,000 registered boats here. Now, what the fuck are you going to do with these boats, right? There's only 2 lakes here, and they're man-made. And this would be totally acceptable if this was off the coast of San Diego or Gulf, New Mexico, East Coast, West Coast, Florida. But in Arizona, where we're landlocked, I think that's crazy. I think the people who have these boats, the $40,000 boats that they never use, are nuts. Because I'm using my stuff every day. And I'm looking out for some type of intelligence that's here watching us. These people are just sitting there with their boats waiting for their damn divorce. So what's more logical? Going out and spending $40,000 in a boat in Phoenix, or buying the best skywatching gear you can get? If you're watching this channel, you're probably going to side with me because you have the UFO bug too. But I don't know about all these boat people. But back to Tim. Tim has quite a bit of gear. Tim's going to give me a lesson a little bit on a tricorder type of device, piece of gear I don't have that I think that either I should have, or Clive or Dan or somebody like that. So he's got some great gear. Tim is also an angel investor. He funds not only his own UFO projects, but he funds other people. When we did a week-long expedition up by Skinwalker Ranch, that was funded by Tim. Who does that stuff? That was all kind of under the table. He paid for everybody's provisions and whatnot to come in. And that wasn't the first time he's done it. And he's still doing stuff like this. I have my radar pole. He has his Kraken system. And he's got UFODAP and a lot of stuff. So his Kraken stuff is... His Kraken radar was like my backup in case this radar doesn't really pan out. I can go to the Kraken, and it's a passive radar system where you don't have to deal with the FCC and all that stuff. But without further ado, let's bring in Tim Sr., who's well known in the UFO community. Welcome to 4K Skywatch, and Tim.
Tommy K, the king of UFO. Thank you so much for having me, buddy. And I appreciate the introduction. So let's talk UFO. Let's decipher some video. Let's have some fun. It's Friday night.
All right. So we're gonna get into my little videos at the end of the show and the UFO stuff first. But let's talk about Age of Disclosure. I'm currently working on, and you'll see at the end of the show, we're in post-production of a number of projects that Clive Christopher's doing, I think, for Amazon Prime. And these shows, from what I know, and it's not really a big secret, are going to be called Skywatchers, Skywatchers, and I think 4K Skywatching will be the one that I put together. So when I watch Age of Disclosure, and I watch the pacing of this thing, it was 2 hours, and it was boom, 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 interview after interview after interview. It made me think about when I get around to my edit, how am I going to tackle this? Because our projects that we do with Skywatch are slow. They're not fast paced like this. They're kind of like follow us along on our journey, see what we're doing, see the logic. So it's a very almost Hawaiian type slow pace where Age of Disclosure was pretty fast. So, what are your
Yeah,
thoughts initially on that?
you're exactly right. And I think this film was set up in a really interesting way where it kind of gave you the pre disclosure, the fight for disclosure, and then projected life after. And I think the life after is kind of everything after David Grush. Once David Grush kind of came forward, I think that kind of forced this topic into the public in a realistic way. I think that was a big game changer for this topic when he came forward as a whistleblower. And he wasn't just talking about UAP and UFOs, he was talking about the whole recovery program and the reverse engineering program and the fact that black budgets exist to make this all exist. I think that was really the big message there that kind of blew the doors off of what we thought disclosure was going to look like. So I think that this film really took that ball and ran with it, showed the whole gamut of how this was handled by both the media and how it was received by the public.
When I watched it, I noticed that we saw kind of a different, what would we call a different Lua Elizondo. He was more open. He wasn't, I can't talk about this. He was like full frontal in your face. Here's where you connect the dots. These are the people that you could look for. So I feel like it gave us, like we all assume that the DNI and the CIA director know. And maybe they don't because, like you said, they're temporary employees. And this was revealed on the Mark Rubio teaser that was put out recently, that they're temporary, these people who are presidents and whatnot. And they said, and so is the CIA director, and so is the DNI, and all these people that we assume are read in, and they should be. But they said 3 layers under them, these people are there for 40 years or so. And these people may not want to include them and say, we can't trust him. We'll just tell him UAPs exist, but don't give him no details at all. And that kind of seems like what's going on with that.
Yeah. And I like that they bring up
Yeah, just a second.
and how we definitely bring up the historical side, and it covers that, digging into the fact that we know Eisenhower was involved to an extent, and they talk about that. And I feel like, that was probably something pivotal, that they immediately decided to take this and have the CIA run with the ball and turn this into a massive cover up rather than being transparent, with the public. And so now here we are in 2025, looking at a very crucial time in history where disclosure is being forced upon the government and Congress. Really, this is not something that they've chosen, it's something that they're forced to deal with. Um, and I feel like, the fact that we brought it in as maybe an aerospace issue, that these things not only have historically collided with our airplanes, but pose a future threat. And that threat word has always opened doors and ears when it comes to Congress and people spending money on change.
Yeah, a threat was a bit of the narrative. That's mainly something that Lou seems to push. But I just think that they're going to use this as a threat to, so the Pentagon can now get $2 trillion a year. And it could be just a never ending thing where it's another excuse, because America always needs some enemy to justify all that funding.
You're absolutely right. And I think perhaps this film helps narrow the focus a little bit about what they need to be looking for. Is the discussion about breakaway science and our adversaries' potential intelligence, or is it truly about UAP considered as UFO? And that's a completely different discussion. And it seems like this film really wants to separate that. And so the discussion is more about these things being transmedium, showing acceleration and showing the sorts of things that we know we don't have and our adversaries don't have because it's physically impossible according to our known physics. And so I think that that's a discussion that's taking place here. And really, the film seems to go through an arc where it ends with a really solid look at what post disclosure looks like. Because really, within the crowd that we run in, post disclosure is what we're living in right now. As far as the government's concerned, if they're talking about it, that's disclosure, right? In our interpretation, right? But this film wasn't really for the insider. This was for the public, in my opinion. And it really shows the gamut, of the history of this topic and how it's been handled. And there are some revelations in there, even for some people that are in the inside, such as you and me. I had a few eye-opening moments where I don't think I realized exactly what was going on with certain things. You hear about some pretty extreme things on how this topic is handled with people that whistleblow and things like that. Well, this film, takes a pretty good look at that and discusses that pretty openly.
Yeah, in a way, this was kind of disclosure of kind of unofficially for the government anyway. It's like whether you like it or not, we're disclosing this, and looking at some of the feedback. This movie wasn't made for us, but I was impressed. This was made for like coworkers at work, for people who aren't convinced. This is made for like the bitches on The View. People. Hopefully, this wakes up regular type normies, like let's say a Drew Barrymore show. All these talk shows, they need to at least talk about. If they don't talk about this at all, that they're part of the problem, because we have a media that's owned by like 6 people, right? We have billionaires either own all of our social media, or they own all the print or all the visual stuff. And they keep us kind of drunk with stupidity. It's either, here's the Kiss camera, pay attention to that. Here's baseball Karen from a month ago. Here's nonstop Taylor Swift, right? Or whoever her successor is. And then they keep people drunk and watching football, right? So that's kind of the priorities. And in order for this like to change going forward, we need to change how society thinks. We had decades after decades of people who listen to nothing but talk radio, and all they do is politicize everything they see and hear. Then we have the younger generation that's into identity politics. So when these two different opposing views go out and they go in the streets, they're going out for deeply personal political type reasons. We need people in the streets to fucking riot over, we need UFOs disclosed. We need a new type of energy and get out gas, oil, and coal. Who is retarding our civilization by classifying what we have a God-given right to know the whole goddamn time?
Absolutely. You're not wrong. We need more petitions being signed. And the fact is we know the Air Force has been involved, not just the Navy. The Air Force definitely has footage. They definitely have witnesses, and we have heard barely anything. Now, this film actually does bring someone forward that, is representative, at least, of the Air Force and discusses the topic, which I felt was refreshing. But honestly, it's amazing that the Air Force has fallen so silent on this topic when we know that they are the cutting edge of what's up in our skies. Kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, what they did is they went ahead and named the Air Force, which isn't no secret, that when the Air Force and the Navy train together in certain workups, the Navy might say, hey, we found UAP in the sky, and they're training right next to an Air Force jet that goes, I didn't see nothing. I didn't see a goddamn thing. So that's an institutional problem, because the cover-up comes from the CIA, and then from under them, Air Force and OSI. So they are really the problem that needs to be dealt with. So like we've seen what is the changes with the Trump administration, where they're saying, hey, you're either get on board with our shit or get the fuck out. So we have had a number of generals retire. So the people who are probably the career people who never leave are Strategic Command, the North Command, South Command, CENTCOM, all these type of leaders that you see. There was a movie that came out recently on Netflix called what the hell was that? House of Dynamite. And House of Dynamite was about a sub that shot a missile at the United States, and they don't know whose sub or whose missile. They don't know if it's nuclear. It heads towards Chicago, and they're like, fuck it. Chicago's going to get nuked. What do we do? Who do we fight back? And it just shows what a tinderbox we're in. But the people that were in that film in charge of the missiles coming in and whatnot, these aren't appointed people. These are people who have pensions when they retire, and they're there for freaking ever. So these would be the people that watch incoming ICBMs from the ocean or outer space would definitely be read in to the entire UFO program.
Man, I was living in Hawaii when that missile scare happened a few years back. And I remember looking around at my family and wondering if this was it. I mean, it's pretty intense to get a incoming missile scare, and then have it be called off. You're like, why does that happen?
What
Was
did you
that a
do?
test? I went to the beach, you know.
Well. Yeah, I guess if a nuke's coming, you don't want to hide in a corner or something, right?
What's the point? Just go do your favorite thing and be together. So that was an amazing point you're making, though. And, the fact is, it does end up falling on the OSI and departments like this that are in charge of the cover up. I feel like it's fallen upon them. And so historically, I think that has been even part of the black budget, siphoning process. What this film did cover, I feel like successfully, was diving a little bit deeper into the concept of congressional whistleblowers and what their process is and what their true story and what the actual message is, and it was kind of able to condense those whistleblowers into a nice segment, and I felt like that was huge. They had a couple there that I hadn't seen before, that was great. And so my assumption is that I see them in this film is potentially, we didn't get to see them in Congress, but they were perhaps behind the scenes whistleblowing to Congress is my assumption. And also Lou Elizondo being in this film was, that was great because you heard the full story, and I think you're even able to see why he feels like he was targeted. There's a lot of that in there, and there's kind of an explanation of why you might have seen him decide to take a step back at some point. I don't know if he is currently, but to take a step back to assess, really what was going on in the community, because it did seem like whether it was planted or not, there was a section of the UFO community that really bit back at the information that was dispersed through not just Lou Elizondo, but kind of that wave of information. So that is nicely covered here in a very factual representation. But I think there's a message there that there's an interesting pushback that we're seeing on transparency and this message to Congress that they need to act on it. And it makes you kind of wonder why there's this pushback and where it's sourced from, really. Is it political, or is it from somebody that's in the UFO world? I mean, where do you think that pushback is coming from? Is it more OSI, CIA ops?
Well, they talked a little bit about it, that when ATIP and OSAP got together and they said, hey, let's round up what the hell was happening. These legacy guys who already have the Roswell stuff, they're already the people working directly with these craft in the cover-up, came and said, hey, you need to shut up or else. These are the guys who come up and say, look, we can kill you. Everything they're doing is illegal anyway, right? So what's a little bit of murder when they're sucking billions of dollars of our taxpayer money off some other program that's supposed to have it. It comes into their program off the books, and then it goes to Area 51, other countries. We may not even be in control of this. It seems like Lockheed Martin and some of these defense contractors have their own runaway systems. And we might find out it's not under U.S. control anymore. It could be Israel is controlling this, and the CIA and the Mossad are controlling this, and no one wants to even open that goddamn can of worms that the U.S. is funding something they lost control of, and it could be the Mossad's operating this, or the Five Eyes countries are secretly operating this with Britain and Australia and who knows what. The only thing I really didn't like about the thing was when they had Travis Taylor come in. They carefully curated who was on the show. But when Travis came in, and I don't have a problem with Travis, I like Travis, but he has branded himself or stereotyped himself the Skinwalker Ranch scientist. So the debunkers are looking for any avenue in this documentary to kick sand in its face. So thank God they didn't have the George Tsoukalos guy with the hair or any of those guys on Ancient Aliens. But they have Travis Taylor on there just briefly. So that'll be their end, like, oh, you got the Skinwalker people there. But aside from that, they made sure that they didn't have anybody like questionable. They had very credible people in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I found a very interesting point made by Eric Davis in there that, he reflects on the Executive Order 12333, which is directly stating that there's a ban for any action to influence the public and the media. And he states how very blatantly the legacy crash retrieval program has been ignoring that. And in fact, they're aggressively influencing the public opinion by using active disinformation upon them. And I feel like that's a huge, bold statement. And it really reflects what we're literally physically seeing in the day-to-day, not only in this community, but how it's being handled by Congress.
Let's take a look at the Fox News clip that just dropped with David Grush.
Welcome back to Special Report. Tonight we continue our series looking at unidentified, anomalous, say that easy, phenomena, what many people still call UFOs. UAPs. Last week we spoke with the director of The Age of Disclosure. It's a new documentary out about a suspected government cover-up over UAPs for decades, which debuts tonight in select theaters around the country, is also available on Prime Video. It's powerful. It features testimony from 34 former and current government officials, including witnesses who have testified before Congress. Earlier, we spoke with another whistleblower who is now a congressional task force member on the UAP subject.
If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
Biologics came with some of these recoveries, yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human.
Well, let's get some insight into the UAP, or UFO, it used to be called, controversy, and what Congress is trying to do about it. Joining us now, retired Air Force Major David Grush, who has been a whistleblower on the subject of UFOs, UAPs, and government transparency. He's a special advisor now to the House UAP Task Force. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me on, Brett.
So since then, people say, where is the evidence? What's happening? Why don't we know more right now, almost 2 years later?
Well, certainly the last administration didn't help, and my hearing, of course, was during the last administration, and they were not exactly super transparent on this issue, unfortunately. But now that the task force has been created, I've been able to, guide the members within the boundaries of what they're actually cleared for.
When people look at this, they look online, they say, there's a lot out there. There's a lot of people talking about encounters. There's a lot of people talking about videos, and we've seen a lot of that. Can we just cut it down to, you believe that we have encountered alien beings and that they've come to Earth and that we know about it as a U.S. government?
That seems to be the case. I don't like to characterize necessarily where they came from. They're definitely some kind of non-human sentience, but it is true, believe it or not, we've recovered the vehicles, and we actually have physical proof, and I was actually partially cleared into some of those activities. It was beyond oral testimony provided to me. I actually had partial access to the data and actually read the intelligence reports resulting from those programs.
Like with your own eyes,
Correct.
You saw it.
Yes.
And so when people say this is kooky, this is out there, there's nothing to back it up.
I don't speak for other parts of the government, but I can tell you NASA, which I speak for, is open and transparent with our data.
Do you believe what Mr. David Grush said, or is he lying?
Whatever he said, where's the evidence?
What do you say?
Certainly members of this current administration are very, very well aware of this reality. Certainly the current president is very knowledgeable on this subject, and I trust his leadership on it, and I think he's assembled an A-team cabinet, and I really believe if Trump wants to be the greatest president and the most consequential leader likely in world history, he certainly has the knowledge, the capabilities, and understanding of some of these sensitive government transparency issues.
I have access, and I speak to people about it. I've had actually meetings on it. People that are very smart and very solid have said they believe there is something out there. And, it makes sense that there could be. I've never been convinced, even despite that. I just, for some reason, it's not my thing.
So you think, one, he knows, and two, he's open to transparency on UAPs?
He certainly is very well informed on this issue. Leave it at that. I don't want to get ahead of what the president might want to reveal personally.
There's been a role to cover this up, you're saying, through administrations. And there have been people who have been threatened and told not to testify?
I was physically threatened even before I sent in my Intelligence Community Inspector General report under the previous administration. I actually had to go and seek legal protection that way because I was, literally in fear both professionally and in my personal life.
And when you mentioned in that testimony of recovering the pilots or remains non-human, that's something that you saw as far as the intelligence with your eyes?
Yes. And it is a very uncomfortable, even for me now, as somebody who's seen it, experienced it, even talking about it, because it's so outside a normal person's worldview to understand that there is this biological sentience that have piloted these crafts that don't necessarily look 100% like you and I.
Were there pictures? Were there?
There were. Yes, there were.
When I said from another planet or from outer space, you said we don't know where they're from. Is it interdimensional? What are we talking about?
I've talked to a lot of, I'll call graybeards on the program. That is a subject of hot debate on origin. As a guy trained in physics formally as well in my background, I leave an open mind on what the origin is. Certainly, there is the extraterrestrial hypothesis, and they could be coming from elsewhere off Earth, but I don't usually go there because I did not see that data, and I'm not conversant in the high confidence theories that the U.S. government had.
I'm not aware of any remains that the department has of any signs of extraterrestrial beings or activity or technology.
You say we, the U.S. government knows, but there are many other governments around the world. Do they know?
They have their own programs, and like I said 2.5 years ago, we have been in arms race with our peer competitors, namely Russia and China, and they have their own programs in this regard. And I was actually able to view a body of intelligence that discussed adversarial programs, and I'll leave it at that.
We've recovered things, you say, bodies and physical remains. Was there a sense that the motive of how they got here, what they were doing, was it peaceful, not peaceful?
We've seen a mixed bag of activity, and motive and intent, why they're visiting. That's, once again, that gets into our assessments, not necessarily, we can't quite understand the intent of some of the sentience and why they're visiting. Could it be because we have interesting genetic material on Earth? We're a Jurassic Park tourist attraction for them. Could be a myriad of reasons.
For the other people who are coming out, you say to them what? You've obviously faced intimidation. You talked about harassment. there are reports that others have too.
I say that there's hope. Certainly, Congress values whistleblower information right now, and certainly I believe there's an appetite with the administration to do the right thing on this as well. And there's some other things that are happening behind the scenes that I'll let the administration discuss when they're ready.
Okay, well, we appreciate your time, and we'll follow every element. It's fascinating.
Yep, thanks for having me on.
Thank God for David Grush. He's one of the most trusted, well, whistleblowers that we have. And I really don't know if you're exactly a whistleblower if you go through DOPSAR, because then you have permission to talk. A real whistleblower is going to Snowden the situation. They're going to steal these classified videos that everyone's talking about. They're going to steal as much of this data as they can day by day without these people knowing about it. And then they're going to drop it. I mean, a lot of us have wondered, how come these people don't just get on the internet and use a VPN with a burner phone and just start spilling the beans? They do stuff like that on 4chan, you know, from time to time. But yeah, they can't catch you. We've found that out, that some of these whistleblowers have alt accounts. They have, burner accounts that they use to troll people. So if you can troll a dude on Twitter with a fake name, why in the hell can't you troll us with some of the goddamn information?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it's another layer of deception. It's all part of the process with the times that we have with social media the way it is. There's no layer of anonymity with anything. You have to bake it into the process if you plan on going anywhere with any piece of information.
This interview the interviews that we did watch in Age of Disclosure range from about 3 years ago. So there was probably a huge overhead in the production of staying in hotels in Washington, flying in and out. A lot of productions that go out there on television have a budget somewhere between $50 to $80,000. But this looked like the money was on the screen. It looked like maybe this was a few $100,000. And I totally understand why they're out there charging $20 to make their money back, because it's going to get ripped. It's going to be uploaded to the internet to watch for free pretty soon if it's not already. But they got to recoup some of the money so the guy can keep going. Now, this was shit on by Rotten Tomato reviewers. Well, I looked up one of the guys, and he said The Last Jedi was a good movie. So some of these people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Reviewers? Who are these people? These aren't ufologists. We are the fucking reviewers. You are. The audience are the fucking reviewers. Not those bitch-ass people on Rotten Tomatoes. Let's had to get that out.
I agree, and I would also highlight this was a great film. It had everybody that is relevant to this topic included in it. As you kind of highlighted there, they definitely had a budget. It was really well done. They had reenactments created digitally for the congressional witnesses that they had on that restated, their accounts. And I would like to, highlight my personal big takeaway. And Tom, I am really looking for your opinion on this. Mike Flaherty is a U.S. Navy intelligence officer for 10 plus years and part of the UAP task force. And he was, during his time, somebody that was a witness to craft orbs and came in contact, literally physically, with exotic energy fields. And because of that, he had lingering effects that affected his health. And it was he himself that said that he, as the investigator, became part of the investigation. And I feel that as is a highlight to this conversation. And not only that, he layers in the fact that 25% mortality rate within 7 years of introduction to some of these energy fields and some of the contact that's been made with UAP. Now, I have a few questions, Tom. This was an important fact that I wanted to take away. A, where do they get this data? And how many people have come in contact that they're aware of that have passed away within 7 years of that contact specifically? And then, Tom, just layering in on this, what do you, as an investigator, and myself included, as someone that's boots on the ground looking for this physically, do you feel this information impacts you?
Well, that's a lot to unpack. Yeah, let's go back to the beginning. The first thing you were talking about was, I believe Lou called it the sixth observable, which is physical ailments that can happen to a witness. And yeah, it was, I guess we're going into a little bit of spoilers here. It was hard to listen to. This guy says, look, you got a lifespan of 7 years if you work around these things. So that would tell me that he is next to a craft to get that ill. Two, that craft would have had to been energized and powered up for the energy to go there, because when these craft apparently are shut off, the rumors are there's nothing inside, there's no engines, there's no power source, nothing. So they would seem inert if they're completely powered down, unless they're extremely radioactive, just even powered down. So I don't know, but 7 years is pretty bad. A lot of us who are either experiencers or skywatchers or come in contact with the NHI aliens, whatever you want to call them, we got weird fucking health problems sometimes. I got an immunity problem where I'm on methotrexate. I'm on a cancer drug, and they can't get me off it because my skin will eat itself apart and my skin will fall off. So yeah, those health effects absolutely suck. I don't know what's going to change. We have to change some of society, which is almost impossible to overcome this hurdle. We have to get politicians that are going to quit their little pet projects and say, hey, UAP is important to move the planet forward, to evolve as a species, and to get out of our warlike mentality where we're so busy blowing each other up. Why would the aliens want to talk to us? We're a murderous species where they're exploiting each other for profit or killing each other over coins in wallets or bitcoins now. It's kind of crazy. It's almost like we're stuck in a doom loop. And I know that whatever disclosure means is different to all of us, that this isn't going to happen in our lifetime. We're still young guys. This is going to happen. Full disclosure, where the government comes out, the president says, yes, there's NHI, we're dealing with it. Let's try and either be friends. It's just something. When we get on the level where they're talking about these other beings that have found us first, that are here, that might be up to the new generation, the ones that are not old enough to drink. When they're our age, maybe they'll happen. But this is a long, long fight. This is not going to be settled tomorrow. Not at all.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like people with boots on the ground need to be the voice for this topic more, because when statements like this come out, I often wonder what their criteria is for a bold statement like that. My personal experience with this is that two people standing next to each other can have the same UAP experience and have two completely experiences, not only in the moment, what they see and how they experience it, but also physically. One person can have negative health aspects, another person standing right next to them can have beneficial or no health aspects happen. So I don't know, if it's a blanket statement, but it's a very bold statement, and I was curious as to what your reaction was.
Well, Gary Nolan said he's treated a number of people who are CIA for this type of treatment. Jake Barber was another one of his patients. We didn't see Jake in there or any of his crew, but also keep in mind, Jake came on the scene during the drones about a year ago, and this was probably cut and edited. And I remember when this came out in March 2025, people were bitching, where's my copy? I want it free. It's like, there's no fucking attention span with people anymore, right? And since I've been on several productions you have too, we know it typically takes 9 months to a year to officially get something out, because they're going to take it. They're going to, like with Netflix, for example, they have laws with closed captioning. People don't know about, there's a law with handicap stuff in the United States. So you have to make, they can come after you. You have to make your website readable for people who are hearing impaired or colorblind, all kinds of shit, or they can come down on you. So this is also goes on with Netflix. They have to transcribe it into Turkish and every freaking language there is. And then now the crazy thing that's going on is AI is automatically doing the voices for it too. So I don't know if that's a thing, but because I was watching some videos, I was watching Erkan, the Turkish guy, had his videos on Last Show, and a lot of people liked that Last Show. I was watching his stuff, and they were automatically converting the shit to English when I was watching some of his videos. Instead of closed captions from Turkish to English, it was straight up English. Let's go, wow, this is wonderful. I wonder if when they watch my channel or you, we're speaking busted ass AI Turkish for those people.
That's great. That's great. Well, Tom, I'm curious if you were to give this documentary an out of 10 and make it from a public perspective, not an insider perspective, because we need to counter that Rotten Tomatoes potentially.
Yeah.
But with your full knowledge and understanding, how would you rate this out of 10 stars?
Okay, good question. I would, for an insider, I'd give it a 9 out of 10. I don't know what the hell they're missing, to tell you the truth, but it's close to a 10 out of 10. It's as good as the hype. It's one of the things that finally lived up to, when you see it, it's good. Everyone, Rogan said it's good. Congress said it's good. It's good. As the guy in the street, honestly, I can't give you that answer because I've been on the UFO track since I was about 7 years old. So I don't know what it's like not to be in UFOs, whether that's good or bad. That's something we're going to have to ask people who don't give a shit about this. You know, they're kind of on the fence and say, hey, did you wait a month when this is out? This will probably hit Netflix, Tubi, YouTube, and all these channels with ads. Once he runs that 1 month out, which is typically a run for a streamer, then he moves on to the ones with ads, right? And it'll get bought up by, since it's already on Amazon, it'll be free with ads probably, right? And I gotta say, Amazon does some fucked up shit. Me and my wife, we wanted to watch a movie. I said, let's watch that movie Departed. We haven't seen that in a while. So we started watching it. It was free, but we didn't finish it. So we go a week later, and they got a fucking price on it. Now they want to make us rent it to finish the damn movie. I mean, fucking the greed of Bezos is unparalleled. What did you think? What's your score here, Tim?
I'm giving it a solid 8 because I feel like this really covered the gamut of disclosure. And it did exactly what the title said. It's about the age of disclosure. I would have liked to have seen some more footage, some new footage, potentially something that, nobody had seen before. That would have been great. But other than that, I did enjoy seeing some new faces talking about it. And I did enjoy the big message that this film put together, which is that it needs to be eyes on it. We need more eyes on it, whether it's the public or somebody that's in office, whether you're a doctor or if you're a politician. You need to be talking about it with the people around you in a realistic way. And I think that makes it a solid 8 because it had some heavy hitters in there, really pushing the boundaries. And, it's great to see that.
I think maybe going forward in the next few years, because I'm trying to think, what can we do to change this? We can't change the way the new people think with the identity stuff. We can't change the people who've been listening to talk radio, but we can change politicians to a degree. We might want to look at people in your own states and then say, is this person UAP friendly or not? Like in my state, we have Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly was an astronaut. His wife was a politician. Gabby Giffords, I think was her name. And I think he's going to run for president, but he doesn't have the freaking swagger to be president. I'd love to have an astronaut for president or a scientist. He's somewhat UAP friendly. He was on that NASA task force where they looked into this stuff, and I think they debunked it or something. But I think when we have new people that are coming into office or people who are coming up to re-election in your own state, you can think locally and call them and say, what's your position on UAP disclosure? And if they haven't heard about it, you tell them, look, we're going to primary you, or we're going to find somebody. We want to start having people who stop giving a shit about, I mean, we have local problems. We all do in our states. But we have this huge problem that there's somebody that's possibly billions of years old that's here, and it's been covered up by people who have made decisions for us that we're going to take society. If we had craft that landed at Kingman and they left the keys in it and somebody said, that's mine, and none of you can ever see it, well, that's fucked up. That's got to change. I don't know. What are your thoughts moving forward in 2026, 2027, 2028?
Boy, I 100% agree with you. And, I'm an activist in this way. I reached out to my local representative. So the 6th district where I live out here in Oregon, Andrea Salinas is my representative. I literally do data drops to her assistant. So I know she's not on the task force. She's not a member of the congressional committee on UAP, but she knows how to get this to the people that are interested in it, if that makes any sense. So I think, you can do it on any level. That's just me doing that. And I took it upon myself to do that. Anyone, wherever you live, you can find out what district you're in. If you've got footage, you want to talk about it, you want Congress to look at it, you never know. You could definitely put that conversation in front of them and see how they're handling it, Make sure that you are in their district because they will listen. That's how I feel about it. Get active.
All right, sorry, the audio. I got a little bit of audio glitch that cut you off. We talked about this for a bit. Let's move on a little bit about I3 Atlas. So Avi Loeb is the guy out there kicking the fucking beehive as hard as he can. He's getting a lot of shit for it. One thing, if you want to get a read on the opposition, which is 99% of the people against Avi Loeb, go to Reddit and go to their space subreddit. There are so many sticks up everyone's ass on that thing. They are the fucking problem. These astronomer people, and everyone knows they're different. A lot of these guys, okay, let's say the guys with the $40,000 boats. There's guys down the street who got $100,000 worth of telescope shit, right? They're living with mom. They haven't procreated. They don't have any fucking kids. They don't have a wife, a lot of them. And they're different. These people are different. Go to that Reddit and you read it. They were saying it was a big mistake for NASA to do that I3 Atlas live stream. I didn't see it, but apparently people were bombing them and text bombing them saying, let's see them aliens. And they don't like that because these people are uptight. They think these are the people that study extrasolar planets. They think life is out there, but it's fucking billions of miles away. And it's on a planet that died 1 billion years ago, and we're just seeing the light, and that's what they're interested in. Now, there's something fucking wrong with those people, right? And this is institutionalized because it's if you go and you get a degree in astronomy, you're going to come out one of these R-space Redditor brains, ditto head that thinks and acts just like them, and there's something fucked up with these people. They're not curious. They don't think UFOs have outdone us and came here first. They think they're way, way out there. And since they haven't seen them with their telescope, they don't exist. And that whole culture, too. I don't know how the fuck you change that unless you change the whole educational curriculum of these people. And then you see the fighting where you see, well, we know how old the crust is. And we're looking, and NASA releases an image yesterday of the I3 Atlas that was blurry. And you got people with their ground telescopes getting better stuff saying, no, NASA's corrupt. They got the Hubble. They got really good instruments. They're showing us crap. They've just been institutionalized liars since their inception. And they seem like now they're just an intelligence operation and not a science group at all. What are your thoughts on NASA and Avi Loeb?
Well, they came out recently. Yeah, I mean, NASA came out recently and publicly stated that they were an intelligence agency. So I think we know what's up with that. And the conversation traditionally, as long as we know, the more you mention alien life, the harder they dig into their Mars rover and the fact that it's not here, it's out there. You know, the extraterrestrial life is out there, it's not here. But I think we all know in this community that's not the truth. And they have a long history of covering up the truth. And so they finally admitted, you know, that they're an intelligence agency and absolutely part of the problem, you know, which is disheartening. However, I don't think we were ever looking to NASA for too much real truth. Anyways, I digress. Back to you, Tom.
Well, yeah, they had supposedly something happen the other day. They cut their live feed. So there's a Susan Go, and that's another person. When she gets fired, we know we're getting closer to this disclosure process, but they're going to allow her to retire with a fucking $100,000 pension, and she's going to be eating fucking Cool Ranch Doritos on our dime for the rest of her life. What was my point here? So yeah, there's somebody at NASA that edits this stuff. So yeah. How come they're not truthful about that? When NASA did do their thing, and we had our guy, our local astronaut politician guy on there, they were saying, oh, we need new data. You got a lot of fucking data, man. Just go back and look through your archives. This whole, we got to, or it started with the gimbal, and after that, they act like UFOs didn't exist before the gimbal or the Tic Tac incident with the Nimitz. We do have Steven Spielberg's movie coming out in 2026. That will help. A lot of how this seems to work is how much activity is going on. I'm trying to look for the right word. Like we have this age of disclosures out. Now what's next? If we have a dry period with nothing's going on, then it seems like disclosure's dead. And it's not exactly dead. It just goes dormant for a while, and then it comes back with another cycle. But the Spielberg movie will help. We just need constant attention on it to keep it's the momentum. To keep the momentum going. When there's a lot of momentum, it seems like we're getting somewhere and the progress is happening. And then when it goes quiet and nothing's going on, it seems like it died and it's completely dead. And it's not. It's just, there's just nothing thrown up in front of the news. And then it's also controlled by the billionaires who can say, hey, you know, Taylor Swift has a new shitty album out. Why don't we change the channel, talk about that all fucking for months?
I would love to highlight how you were saying that Avi Loeb is potentially part of the problem. And we know that he wants to sell books and he wants to really push the otherness of these things that are potentially natural. I love his investigative nature, and I love that he thinks outside of the box to see about investigating deeper. However, I feel at some point he was dissuaded from his initial project, if you want to call, you know, whatever that initial project was. At some point, I know he had a visit from Kirkpatrick, and they started talking about what UAPs were in the Ukraine. And then he seemed to have kind of changed his tune about the aliens visiting us so much as trying to maybe sell books and take his own version of this narrative and create his own topic, if you will.
Okay, Tim, we've been talking about this for about an hour. Let's move into some gear. Let's move into some UFO footage. You have now we're good for the people who maybe just tuned in. We went out and did a Skywatch about 2 years ago in Utah, up at Moon Lake. I had my Luna Optics binoculars, I kind of fucked up some of the stuff because I was on my honeymoon with it, so I didn't have muscle memory and how it all works. So I didn't get recorded everything I wanted to, but you got a bunch of stuff. We're going to show that coming up next week on 4K Skywatching for Black Friday. Is going to be a show on boomerangs, triangular craft, and the best evidence that we have on them. So footage show. So it's going to be a footage show. And then after that, when time allows with you and your family, because it's, holiday time, we're going to have you on. We're going to go over all that Utah stuff, more gear and whatnot. But until then, tell me about this tricorder thing, because we got a guy right now at the Bradshaw Ranch, somehow live with Starlink, and they really need this piece of equipment, or I need this piece of equipment.
Yeah, and it's a really simple piece of gear, and it's a tri-field meter. A lot of people have seen them in ghost hunting, but it's a geomagnetometer in a lot of ways, and you can also detect RF signal.
Cool. So are they both?
Yeah.
Are they both digital, or is one analog, or how they work?
Exactly. So a digital version and an analog version to make sure, that you're getting good, clear readings. I would have, in an ideal situation, 2 separate people with these. And of course, you don't want to have your cell phone or anything that has a signal around these devices because it will trigger them. But these are really great because they can detect little changes in your environment that you wouldn't be able to perceive without them. And it's going to a location, you might find that at the same time you have something in the sky, these devices are triggered at the same time. And some people actually set them up in an array, meaning they would put one in a location, just set it down, and then they would have one in another location, and initially 4, so it would be directional, if that makes any sense. So you would have a camera on each one, and if one is triggered, and then the next one, and then the next one, and you see the same readout kind of pass along at the same time as you're getting something above you, well, that's new information. So again, they can be used in lots of different ways, but depending on your budget and how you're set up and how long you have at a location, they can be set up in different ways to give you that kind of detail.
That's cool. I think, how expensive are those devices? Budget
About
friendly?
150, 170.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, $170, I believe. Yeah.
Everything is $100. These were $100. 6 Big Macs, $100. So it's the new 20. So yeah, thanks on that. I'm probably going to get one. I'm trying to keep my budget a bit lower. I think I hit about $20,000 spent on ufology and gear and this obsession with buying shit. So there is no Skywatch and rehab yet. And if there was, I wouldn't fucking go. I said, I can kick it. I can stop this. I could stop this at any time. And we have a viewer, Shelly Montgomery, who's a 4K Skywatching supporter, sent in a video a few days ago. One of them she sent in, I couldn't really make out what it was. It looked like a dark cloud or something moving. So she sent in another video. And we have this video now. I stabilized it and zoomed in on it. And it goes real quick. She was filming, I think, a couple of hawks. And I see hawks a lot of times before sighting, sometimes or after. So let me cue this video up, and we'll move into some viewer submitted video and then some other video that I have. Got another flying humanoid video too, and some Arizona video. So thank you, Shelly, for sending this video in. And I'm going to roll it. It's going to play the video real quick, about 3 times. And then it's going to stabilize the video a little bit. And then it's going to blow the video up so we can take a look at it. I'm going to freeze it right about here. It comes in focus for just a second, and you can see it's a white triangle with kind of a larger in the front where it's moving, and then two, kind of like the shape of the Starship Enterprise, kind of in a way. Odd video. There is the track that the object took. So that was processed. I processed that today and sent it over to Shelly. I don't know what the hell that is. Well, we never will. It's unknown object that flew by. What kind of weight would we put on that? I don't know. It's so quick. And that's a lot of these videos. But what would happen if that was by Jake Barber and crew and they said they summoned that son of a bitch? They show you one fucking frame. And they say, that's a UFO. You can't tell with one frame. These real-time videos are at least better. What did you think, Tim? What do you... And on the show, I just want to say, feel free... and to anybody out there, if you want to be on the show, just email me and we'll put you on the show. This is not the Tom King ass-kissing session. Feel free to have a different opinion than me and to counter. That's what we're here to do, is bounce ideas off each other, not just agree and do a circular ass-kissing. So, Tim, what do you think?
I think that's a really interesting piece of footage. And the fact that we have birds, obviously, you know, in the image helps quite a lot, giving a kind of distance, a perception, something to kind of, you know, hey, this is what a bird looks like. And then this thing, I can't tell if it's rotating or if it's just flying straight through. It happens quickly. The still image that you chose is pretty compelling, actually. It looks like almost like a little white Mickey Mouse ears triangle kind of, or maybe a triangle with energy kind of coming off the ends. Very interesting looking piece of footage for sure. You know, I have questions like, what was it shot on? Now, I just happen to know that the location, you know, there's not a lot of planes up there. We can definitely discount plane. But another thing is, I would want to know kind of what's growing out there, what's natural to that location, because cottonwood, I'd love to discount cottonwood. And if Shelly was like, well, there's no cottonwood trees out here, so it couldn't be that. I know I've mistaken fluff or debris for interesting things so many times. And, you know, that's tough. But right off the bat, it does look like it's something that has some shape to it. And it looks more like a craft than not to me on my first take. But I have a lot of questions right off the bat. I love it.
Yeah, you send your videos in, they get processed, I send them back. I am behind on one of the videos. Well, Mario has quite a few. One of his videos at night, that one I attempted stabilizing it, and that thing goes all over the place. So that's going to be a frame-by-frame one. And those frame-by-frame ones can take hours and hours and hours. And then he has another one of a cluster of objects. It's 14 minutes long. That's going to take a while to process because of the time and length. On Shelly Montgomery's video, I don't know. I'm thinking possibly a cottonseed, but then if you live in an area where you just don't have that farms and any of that stuff around, I don't know. It looks small. It flew by fast. We don't know. I just say keep shooting, because every time you shoot, you learn a little something. And yeah, that was shot on an iPhone. I don't think she saw it. So let's move on to the next clip here. In the past, I've done an entire show on flying humanoids. Flying humanoids, I filmed that one black cross a couple of years ago. I thought was probably just balloons. Then Jeremy Corbell drops his jellyfish video right when this happened. I went, well, wait a minute, maybe it's something creepy. And then I find out a couple of months later, there's a guy named Chris Donald who lives 20 miles north of me. He's filmed it twice, and it's almost the exact same thing. I started digging around. There's a actual good subreddit called Rusted Satellite, and they track these type of things. So they have just one after another of these flying humanoids. Now, some of these are balloons, and some of them aren't. Some of them look like a guy in a suit. So when I went through the first original episode, I broke down, we have guys in suits. We have Navy SEALs using kerosene rockets to fly around. We have the old jetpacks, which run off of peroxide that go back to the James Bond movies. And then we have these weird flying humanoids that are usually black. They look like ghouls. They're creepy. They're usually about 1,500 feet moving with the wind. It's in its own category. So that was one thing on this podcast that I came out with. What we've made some progress is flying humanoids are a thing. We don't know what they are. And then these new laser tubes that we rebranded are a thing that other Skywatchers are looking at. So let's look at this flying humanoid video. I don't know what it is, but it's just another one onto the pile. And I don't think there's any audio with this. So this looks like it was shot again on another phone in portrait mode, which is usually what people seem to shoot these at. I'm going to run this clip and do it clean in case somebody wants. Another thing you can do is I would, if you want to help and you want to study videos on here, download them directly off the show and then put them in your video editing equipment. One of the pieces of equipment pieces of software I use is called 4K Downloader, and it's free. It is software, so you will have to install it on your machine. So it's going to come with an executable, but it's safe. I've been using it for months and months and months. It'll allow you to download like 6 videos a day. You could even download an entire channel if you pay $20 and buy the full version. You can put a channel in there, or a YouTube channel, so you download the whole channel, and it'll start downloading every goddamn thing off that channel. So it's a backup system for your channel, or you can suck down videos from another channel and then import them into your video editing software and go to town on it. Those videos. Okay, we're running through it again now. I think this is going to hit the stabilization portion. And then the last portion, we're going to zoom in on this limp noodle. It is at the height that we always see these flying humanoids. It's the color. It's kind of got its own weird shape-shifting thing. And notice, let's say this is just a balloon. It is standing upright. And to stand upright like that, it either needs a string or it needs orientation of the object. So it's kind of tilted back and forth. It does look kind of like the number 2 in a way. So it could just be a balloon. I mean, that's where we start with. We start with the mundane. And then as we work forward, we try to see, can we rule this out? Honestly, we really can't rule this out as a balloon. We can't. Why wouldn't it be? It doesn't have any of the observables, but these flying humanoid things don't have any observables, really. They're just flying at this speed. They look weird. Nobody ever can really zoom in good enough to get a good picture of it. But here's the best view of this video. I can't remember where this one was shot. I don't think this was Arizona. Kind of looks like cock and balls. Yeah, it's kind of, this one's a little prophylactic looking. If it's the number 2, it's morphine. And you know that you can get any number from the grocery store in balloons. But they usually don't morph around unless it's a lot of balloons tied together. So that's the end of this clip. Tim, what do you think of this thing?
With a child in my family that recently turned 7, and that looking so much like the giant number 7 gold Mylar balloon that I inflated in my garage. Uh, I hate how I really lean heavily on that being a number 7 Mylar balloon. And you know, I had the tank in my garage and I inflated it, the whole thing. So I feel like I could duplicate that pretty easily. Um, and so I hate being that guy to say balloon, but I just had a birthday balloon that looked just like that. If you look at it, it even looks like the number 7 if you were to flip it.
Well, I don't disagree with any of that. I mean, yeah, you could probably put it just any balloon up and launch it and look at. But it's one for the collection. The ones I'm looking at have exact matches for another one. For example, one of the ones that I shot, there was an exact match of that object from Atlanta. So, and these aren't number 7 balloons. What I filmed looked like a flying cross or you know, something creepy. Let's move on to the next clip. This one is from Scottsdale. There was a sighting just last week. Multiple people saw 3 golden objects hovering up north in Scottsdale. Now I had the camera up because I was looking north. We're looking west here, but I was looking north because that's when the aurora borealis was being seen all the way down to Arizona. So I pointed north, and I did not pick up these 3 golden whatever they are. They were out of range. So I can see like a fifth of town here of the Phoenix area, but I can't see the whole town. That would be one hell of a thing. And then also, if the object's small, you're not going to see it like 20 or 30 miles away. So let's look at briefly some of the stuff that came in from Scottsdale.
Oh my gosh. The hell is that? There it is. What the fuck is that?
So the explanation people were trying to say, those are skydivers at night. They even pitched a website where this happens, but they're not due to do this until February 2026. So sometimes details matter. They did look like there were those little flames. I don't know if they're skydivers with pyrotechnics. That's kind of a thing. I have seen video of people filming this stuff, and then and you can tell it looks like skydivers and shit. But then the person's like, nope, not in this part of the town. So sometimes it doesn't add up, but the video sometimes gives away. What do you think?
I really like this footage. Arizona is so hot with UFO. This looks great. I love that color. You know, that's pretty typical with some things that I've personally seen. And just to reverse back to that last piece, I personally filmed something that looked like a black jellyfish that I only saw visually for a second, and my camera caught it a little longer than I saw, but it actually disappeared right in front of our team, and that was out in the Nevada desert. So things, you know, that look like jellyfish, I'm open to that sort of thing. This one was completely black, and it was only there for just a few moments, and it was near a undisclosed military base. Use your imagination there, but that sort of thing exists. As for this piece of footage, I really like it. The fact that these lights come on and off, they seem to maybe be moving in a way, you know, while we can't see them potentially. And that color is pretty distinguishing, I guess I would say. I've seen a lot of lights in the sky that color that aren't ours. potentially. So I like this piece.
Yeah, fire is going to give off, a pyro is going to give off a certain color. One of the problems is does the recording device register that color properly? I did a show with Luna Optics versus an $80 Luke Skywalker looking camera that I got off Amazon. Everything that I filmed with it almost was blue. So I filmed incoming aircraft with their front landing lights coming towards me 20 miles out, blue orb. So it depends on sometimes the gear. If you're using shit for gear, how do we trust what came out of that camera color-wise? This has been an issue going back to the 90s when I filmed the Phoenix Lights thing at 10 o'clock. Those objects were orange, but in my video, they're kind of white. And then we had the person with a better camera, Dr. Linkatai. She filmed something too, same time, but they turned out gold on her video. So a little more true to color, but that was always how much can you afford. And then when it comes out now, people want the cheapest goddamn thing they can get. And sometimes it's not going to register the colors accurately. But our phones do kind of a decent job. So that was, and yeah, you're right. We got another clip here from Arizona. So we're going to look at this. This is also possibly flying humanoid type thing. So this was shot, there's two clips of this. This is a white cross shot at the Joshua Tree area in Arizona recently. Let me pause this. There's two videos actually, so I'm going to play both videos. So they got something that's silvery looking, looks like a star. Decent size to it. It's not too huge, it's not too small. I mean, they're out in the middle of effing nowhere. I mean, look, there's no stores around. If you look at the size of the telephone pole and then the size of the object looks like it's thicker than the telephone pole. I don't know. Maybe it's a balloon, but what the hell is this stuff doing out in nowhere? I mean, there's areas when you drive between California and Arizona, you're not going to see a goddamn thing for a long time. If you're on an EV, you got to plan where you're going to get your charge and whatnot. So what are balloons doing drifting out? 30, 40 miles out, but still at 15,000 feet. What do you think of the Joshua Tree video?
I think it's an interesting shape. You can't discount the fact that it still somehow could be a floating star-shaped Mylar balloon. Mylar exists forever. They seem to linger in the air forever, frustratingly. But I think that there was some patterns there that I could look at deeper. It looks like we could, very easily rule that out. But I'm always looking for at least one of the observables, and so when things don't show me any of the observables in the footage, that becomes a little bit frustrating, and it kind of gets put in that big barrel of things that are a big maybe, but again, not showing any more than what we're seeing right there. It's tough to make a call.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. We can't just be calling everything UFOs just because you want it to. And this is, you see, I'm sure you see it all the time, confirmation bias, where people say, well, my footage is real, but yours isn't, because I can debunk yours, because they're personally involved. It's their baby. It's like they wrote a book and they won't say my book is shit. Or I wrote a book about, let's say, sailing, but I didn't write it all about sailing. Somebody could point it out. It's like, that is not it. And sometimes, I talk about this a lot, you need a friend to talk your ass down going, bro, I don't want you to make an ass out of yourself. You're going to go out there telling all these people you filmed as aliens and UFOs, but this is a fucking balloon. So everyone needs somebody there to keep them grounded. And we do that to each other too. I mean, we'll just say, "Hey, sorry, but this is why I don't think this one is it." It's part of ufology.
Yeah. Yeah. I get Starlink videos all the time. It's hard news to break, but it can be convincing as a layman.
All right, I'm going to shift gears here now. We're going to move to a bit of the. We were supposed to do this Tuesday, but I was so wrecked. I didn't want anybody over the house. I got hip problems. Thursday, I went under another procedure where they did radio frequency ablation, and they did my right side, which is the fucked up side, and then they did the left side just for hell of it. And I said, "Can you refry the right? The right one's still in pain." He's like, "Just give it a month." Yeah, and it does work pretty good. And I'm thinking, what's going to happen when I'm 90? I have to have this shit done every year, or I walk around like the late Hulk Hogan, all bent over, crippled, looked like I got fucked in the ass and just came out of jail. So I get this radio frequency ablation. It looks like I didn't just get fucked in the ass. So it's just a process that's going on. But anyway, we had Clive over, and I'm sure you're going to meet him at some time. So we went through... we were filming for, I think, 3 different documentaries. For a Phoenix Lights documentary he's working on, one for the Skywatchers documentary, and one for something else. So here's kind of the setup.
I did notice that. You're right. Thank you for catching that.
And went over to this guy's house, and we filmed UFOs. So only the Phoenix Lights and this helicopter trip worked. We were told, "You're going to show up, bring your camera, we're going to see something," and we did. Only 2 times that happened out of possibly 1,000 skywatches. The other times where we were just out skywatching, we collected something. But on these other occasions where we were told, "Come, we're going to find something," we did. So that was just a little bit of the interview. You have to watch the whole thing whenever it comes out, and he'll be shooting me, God, with 6K cameras. But I don't know if I ever go to 6K Skywatch. And who the fuck, unless you're young and really pretty, who the fuck wants to see their face in 4K? You know, I mean, we're well past our prime. Yeah, well, Emilio, people have filmed the Phoenix Lights type boomerang with iPhones. And you know what they get? A black sky with some dots. So they can't see the outline of the craft unless you have night vision or thermal or a psionics or something. Just regular cameras are not going to crack that nut. It's going to take special equipment. Look at what's going on with the drones in New Jersey or the drones overseas. They're resorting to lasers and shit. They can't even figure out what's there. They're delaying flights. Mick Wessons, there are no drones. They're delaying flights, interrupting hundreds of thousands of people's travel by trapping them in the tubes or in the airport. And then they're saying there's nothing there. It's frustrating as hell. And yeah, since I have you on and we have the gear to answer what these drones are, and the government does it. I mean, what the fuck? How do we have gear that could tell us what if it's a drone or whatnot? And they have helicopters. They have all this stuff and they can't figure it out.
So Tom, since you brought it up, I can just show you a device that I purchased. And this has an antenna that you attach to it. And this literally will tell you exactly what drone is in with a 1 mile radius of you. It'll tell you the brand. It'll tell you everything. So it's one way to rule out drones if you're UFO hunting, but it's also a way to, you know, if I was to film this at the same time as I'm seeing something above me, that can instantly rule it out for the naysayers. So it's just one more piece in the arsenal to keep around so you can rule out drones. There's no drones within a mile or I'll know it. Right?
How does that work? I mean, you're like James Bond over there with all that shit. I thought I had all this stuff, and I'm like, nope, got to write down a list.
Yeah, they're actually using this in the Ukraine. If you can see it, it's just a drone alarmer. You can pick one up, and it will give you all the details. Like I said, make, model, and if it's assigned to someone, their user ID would show up on this as well. So I would be able to actually locate the user if they were bothersome, let's say. Yeah.
Did I
Highly
pick
recommend.
the right dude to come on the show or what? This guy's perfect. He's like, we've talked that, and we were born in the same year, days apart. So someday, back in 1969, around November or so, both his parents and our parents said, it's time to do the nasty. And we both popped out and met 50 years later as people on the top of our game doing this ufology. Now, Tim, a couple questions. Can you drop a link for that drone jammer and the tri-field meter so my wallet can take an uneasy hit a little later, and so can some of the people watch it? They're probably interested too.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a piece of tech that I've added. And as you know, I used to drive around in an RV that had all my tech integrated into it. And now I've downsized everything to a utility belt. So if it doesn't fit on a belt, I don't use it anymore. But this
Jesus
is a great
Christ.
device. It's pocket size. It fits on my utility belt and I can roll out. So highly recommend.
I remember when you were getting rid of the RV and asked me if I wanted to buy it. And Rhonda's like, no, man, no. That was before I got this radar. And she's like, don't buy that because we're too old. We need to downsize. We don't need more shit. We need less shit. And I was as fat bastard at the time. I fucking had hip problems. I was close to it, just exploding like the dude on Scanners. It was I could not lose weight. I was fucking stuck. And at that time, I physically was too fucked up. That was not on my radar. But now, if you had asked me now and you still had it, I would probably take that off your hands. I probably would. But then again, there was also talk. We have RVs up the ass in Arizona. Probably the only thing we don't have more boats is RVs. And so they're all over the place down here. But goddamn, we could use something like that now. But back then I was able to stop spending money on this shit. I don't know how, but I was able to say no. And then something happened. I got a little skinnier. I said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to go balls to the wall on this shit until I can't do this anymore. I got at least 15 good years left in this fucked up body to keep going on and to try and get some more answers, because we're going to get limited stuff out of the government, but it's citizens doing science like us and the people watching and the people, there's a lot of people doing this stuff. They just don't all have podcasts. Some of them don't want to go public. And for every Tim and Tom, there's 50 other people out there doing this same thing. Maybe not at this level, but they're doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I applaud it. You know, whether you have an RV that you retrofit like I attempted, you know, we did that for 5 years all over the country, and it really utilized all of our skills to be able to make that happen. And what that taught me, Tom, is that I can do the same thing with a few devices around my belt, and I'm much more mobile and I'm not so locked into a certain location. And honestly, as everyone here probably knows, UFOs don't follow a road that an RV can really roll on, right? UFOs show up in the strangest of places, and so you have to be able to get there. And so I made my tech much more mobile. I think that was my big takeaway, but it doesn't take a big budget, you know, to get out there and look for UFO. Start off with refurbished. You know, you don't have to buy all new gear.
Yep.
And when you're striking out, ask someone that's done it. Ask Tom. If you've got a specific question, email him. He would be more than happy to give you advice on how to get started on a low budget if you're trying to do low budget.
That's great advice. We all buy one camera at a time, pretty much, and then use it. And then what happens with me is I buy a camera, I film a UAP on it eventually, and then I go, if I just had a better piece of equipment, then I go for that better piece of equipment. So like I said earlier, you see a UFO, then you want a piece of equipment to record it. That's what happens with most people. And I'm still doing that, just with different stuff. And that's a real, by the way, for people watching, that's a real garage behind Tim. That's not he doesn't have a blurred background with fucking fireplace. That shit's real. What kind of car, I'm curious, is that black car behind you?
Oh, a Urus. Yeah, that's a Urus.
What is a Urus? Never heard of it.
It's a Lamborghini, brand new, like hybrid.
A Lamborghini?
Yeah.
A Lambo fucking Ghini.
It's a fast ride. Yeah. Way to dissuade your audience. Now they're
Jesus.
like, uh-oh.
Jesus Christ. Well, I guess you could catch the UFOs in that motherfucker.
I mean, I could definitely, hopefully, at least give them a run for their money, you know?
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, so I take it you're not eating the same flavor of top ramen that I'm eating over here. 'Cause I'm at the point where I'm giving blood and then I'm financing this shit. But hey, if you're gonna give me $50 to sit there and take some blood from me, I'll fucking do it. You know, it's helped some other dude, and then you help me by $50, and then that goes to Amazon or some shit. All right, I'm gonna get into wrap this up for a bit. I'm going to get into these glasses. So this is a 5-minute video or so. It's going to show me on the roof. I usually do this on Saturday. I go up and wipe the dust, bird shit, whatever the hell hits the camera collection system on the roof. I clean that up. It'll give you kind of an idea. Are these worth it? Do you even want anything like this? But I'm probably going to keep these. When I buy something, usually if it sucks, it goes back to Amazon. So let's check out this. And these aren't nothing too new. I was looking at Ray-Bans have these out, but that's owned by Mark Zuckerberg, so I won't buy anything he does. And some of these only record like a minute at a time. This thing looks like it was recording chunks of about 30 minutes. It's not in perfect 4K, and it just records video. So Dog the Bounty Hunter has been rocking this type of shit for a while. This has no internet, no look people up. All this does is record video and sound. And let me get this, turn on the activation button here. Just a sec. I got a problem with this piece of media for some reason. Oh, got to link up the file. Just a second. Should run now. Let's go clean the cameras up. We lost south camera, so we'll have to investigate why. Ooh, some shit. Should have got this wet. Fuck up you for that, Finey. Try not to get vertigo. I gotta get this fixed. This is my RF fucking homemade shit, and it sucks. I need to get this fucking antenna's like $150. I need to get this hooked up to Air Spy, but you can only go so far, and I go in the room, and the room's on the other side. It's the fucking dome camera. It's not up all the way. Gotta periodically clean your cameras. My all-sky camera, 4K up there. These are all 4K color Lorex. This here is that windshield wiper camera. 45 power, pretty powerful. Didn't like it at first, but fell in love with it. This is the RF that's used for UFODAP. And then the other RF would be for Air Spy. So I'll get that hooked up. Hopefully what was hooked up, I'll get that working better. So we lost south camera, which is this one. So typically this fucking, ooh, there we go. There's why we lost it. It came out. And if it goes bad, the black connector on this side, which you can see barely is going bad, maybe if I reconnect that, it'll pop back in. And then we need to, got to put these kind of in a weird loop. So like, you don't want to do that because water goes up. You kind of want to go like that so water doesn't hit your power. So let's take a look at the thermal fork here. These are on a pan and tilt, but I no longer move them because when I was doing that, this one would go over there and get in the sun as the sun would rotate. So the sun's over here at about, I don't know, 50-degree angle or so. And it goes about like that. And then in the summer, it goes straight overhead. So I can't really point them to the west. Thermal getting the sun. And it comes over there in the east, goes right over the top. So not quite at the equator, but kind of close. These things right here in the Phoenix sun, they last about a year. And then if you take them apart, they explode. But they do work good for a while. I found Ace Hardware stores sells these. You can also get these from Amazon, where I got a case of these. So I go through these and replace these about once every 2 years. This is my new waterproof box. This is in case I want to put, and I got HDMI run through the house in case I want to do a 4K HDMI run. So everything's labeled. So there's also, so the connectors look good. See, I cut these off and then put a new connector on if I have to. So you gotta get used to doing your own color. This is the part B. So let's see if your south camera came up. It's supposed to rain tomorrow. So this is actually a pretty good box. I like it over the first one. All right, so let's oh, fuck. Man, fuck this. All their top sheets are, I need this for the finish. And they're fucking destroyed. And I'm not gonna move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. At least 6 fucking sheets to buy 2. Fuck, I gotta go to another depot. This is trying it at night. And that's me trying the PVS 7 with the glasses on. So that's a review of what these camera glasses can do. Nice to have hands-on stuff so you can film stuff. I'm surprised stuff like this isn't mandatory in construction, so they can see if you're working, and what you did, or if you have an accident. All the silly, stupid shit I've seen in construction, from accidents, things that falling, exploding, tipping over, that happened to be funny if you had these. So this would just be something I just use when I'm skywatching out in the field and cutting together for B-roll. So Tim, do you got anything like that in a bat belt? What, any other sensors you want to share? Damn.
So yes. Okay, so you're talking glasses. And so I'm going to give you an insider tip. I guarantee nobody is doing this except you and me. if you decide to get on board with it. So you're talking about glasses. So there's something out there called dicyanine. And dicyanine glasses were used historically by a dude named Walter John Kilner in the early 20th century. And Kilner developed screens coated with this dye called dicyanine to train his eyes to perceive what he believed to be N rays, as he called them. And the purpose was that he believed it would enable observers to see beyond the normal visible light spectrum and perceive what were believed to be energy fields or auras. Now, Kilner himself noted that prolonged use had very deleterious effects upon his eyes and made them very painful. However, this was a coating that was created to put on glass, and the dye would be put on glasses. Now, as a more modern version, we should take this experimental lens and try putting it on one of our cameras as an observable in an experiment to try and take a look and perceive electromagnetic radiation that is only visible outside the visible spectrum. And so potentially incorporating this into a UFO DAP lens or something that's constantly searching, it would help decipher out what we're looking at as potential UAP opposed to birds or planes. So I see you've got some specs on. Let's hope that he's already reached the conclusion that this is part of the process. Over to the TK. What do you got, buddy? What is that?
I happened to be fucking around with some of that shit a while ago. So we haven't talked in a while, and we're both, like I said, born days apart, screwing around with the same technology. Now, I'm wondering, where the fuck is my Lamborghini? Now, I could have a Ferrari, but I spent it on all that hardware on the roof. So I'm not able to swing both items at once. But what do you have these? What have you tried them? I was going to take these to Sedona, and try and, bring about whatever there is there to see.
Right. And so the dye itself is illegal, but what you can do is have a lens custom made outside of this country and then sent here as a lens. And so that's what we are doing, is customizing a few of our cameras to have this kind of like you would put an ND filter on the outside of your lens. We're creating this as a filter, if you will.
Is there any evidence this works? I mean, this was another avenue I kind of kicked around. One of the videos I did that gets some of the most hits is called The Sphere Network, where I read the book. I gave a summarization of what that book is about. You can get it on Kindle for like $6 or something, and you can read it in 2 hours. There's a lot of fucking pictures in there. So I looked through, is there a Sphere Network? And then I dug down about every decent ball-bearing sphere video I could find, and there's a compilation in there, and there's a few more. I tried to get some of these people to go on the show that recorded videos. No luck so far. One of them is at least out there, so his name is out there. He lives in Georgia. And then there's another guy who filmed one with the P1000. I can't get anything from him. And I did the Dicinian glass. Now, there was this Russian guy, and I had some of his clips on the show, and he had a clear piece of Dicinian glass, which apparently this is. And you're right, it's some type of dye that was done back in like the World War II days to give these to people in the field. I can't remember if it was for flamethrowers or what the hell the deal was, why they made these. But the Dicinian glass with this Russian guy, maybe this will hit somewhere with you. He had a clear piece, and he was filming like buildings, like radio buildings that would have an antenna on top of it. There'd be spheres, allegedly, parked on top, and he would move his Dicinian glass in front and away. And when he moved it in front of the camera, you would see spheres. And when he moved it away, nothing. And I contacted the guy, emailed him in Russian, and asked him, some questions, trying to get a response back. Got nothing back. He still posts on his YouTube. But if he's faking this, why? And why is he doing a sphere when we got the Bugosphere and all these different sphere videos Why is this guy messing with this? His videos that he has predates the Bugosphere. So he didn't get in the bandwagon after the Bugosphere was taken possession. So I don't know, is the Dicinian glass, you're talking about clear, or is it like this blue, or what do you know of it?
As far as I know, there's lots of shades of it. And we're doing an experiment with everything from 5/8 all down to 1/8. So we're going to be looking at a few different, variants of that to see how they work. I basically can give you feedback when I get them back. That was over like 4 months, maybe 3, 4 months now. So I'm still waiting to get my lenses back. But it wasn't a simple process. Not a lot of people ask for it. And I also had to make it custom for a couple of the cameras that I use, which I don't have an example of. But I will get back to you. I mean, the idea is pretty simple, is that potentially it would help you to see into the electromagnetic spectrum, perhaps, and see radiation. If there's electromagnetic radiation, theoretically, this can allow you to see that. And so that would be potentially something that's given off by UAP. We don't know, but people have had effects that seem to align with exposure to high amounts of electromagnetic radiation. So we're going to see if we can see it out in the skies with our long distance lenses and see if it's detectable. So, I mean, I would have to report back, but that is the hope, is that it would also help decipher between something that is ours and something that isn't.
That's interesting that you kind of went on your own little thing with that, and I did too. Just, it wasn't like you said, hey, I'm going to look into this, and I said, yeah, me too, and I copied it. So we both, you're right. I've been fucking around a little bit with Dicinian glass. It's hard to get your hands on, like you said. It's hard to find legitimate stuff that isn't a fake out there for sale. And we are turning over every rock that there is, Skywatch, and looking at these things are probably flying around cloaked in the electromagnetic spectrum. And sometimes there's different equipment or things that can bring them out, possibly Dicinian glass, if that Russian guy isn't full of shit, or it's too bad we're at war with that country, because in other times one of us could fly over there and see it for real and say, it's full of shit, or yeah, this is a real piece of working glass. So yeah, we try all kinds of stuff. And the people that watch this type of show, if it works out, it's going to be like cats. They watch another cat. Okay, I'll do that too. That works. These guys spent the resources and the treasure, and they'll tell us, the good shit from the bad shit. That's part of what this show is about, is kind of an instruction manual that what we're doing is normal. We are doing cutting edge science, trying to find out who the fuck has us under surveillance while we're trying to put them under surveillance. So it's a tricky task. It's one of the frontiers in front of us, because we've figured almost everything out according to like astronomers and whatnot. And we are trying to find out what's in our atmosphere or our sky around our cities. And what are the commonalities? Like, why do you and me do this? Why were we on this level and other people aren't? What are the commonalities that we see in some of the videos? So we're looking for links. We have now so much UFO footage that we could say the spheres are probably a real thing. The tube of light is pending. Who knows about the flying humanoids, the jellyfish, right? But there's a lot of different categories. And we know UFOs are real. We're just trying to figure out what slots they're in, the different shapes, the sizes, and what do they all have in common, from a small orb of energy to like a bowling ball to a tic tac to a gimbal type thing. How do they all have the same propulsion, and what is the linkage? So at least I think we're looking for it and not afraid of, oh, we can't do that. There's the stigma. Fuck that.
Yeah, no, you're right. We're chefs. You follow a recipe that you're constantly kind of fine tuning. And if the recipe works, it's mwah, you come up with results. And so I'll try anything. I'll add a little spice. I'll try this lens. I'll swap it out for something low tech. Maybe I'll go for something high tech and yield different results each time. So it's good to constantly be changing the recipe ever so slightly. However, remember, there is a very basic recipe that you need to follow while you're out there if you expect to get any kind of results.
Man, that's man, it's almost scary how we can't talk. Let's say we don't talk to each other for 6 months. We're both doing the same shit, almost. I mean, you might be putting electricity or whatever goes in that Lamborghini, but skywatching wise, we have those commonalities that we're doing, even if we're not sharing them. And so it's amazing just here live on the show. You bring up Dicinian glass. This was not scripted. We didn't talk about this ahead of time. I don't even know if you know I have a thing I go through. Like I said, 20 grand in a year. A lot of these shows cost a hell of a lot of money that I do because I go out and buy equipment, and sometimes I keep it, sometimes I take it back. But we're trying, like you're saying, what if this works? If this Dicinian glass works, that's a hell of a discovery. It's a new discovery, like how people figured out if you take one of these cameras, you turn on night shot, and then you put these ND filters on, like 950 NH or and nanometers.
ND.
You can see UAPs with that. So that's one. There's at least one technique, and I would imagine the government has quite a few more, and they're classified because the truth is top secret.
100% right. And again, I think I've said it a couple places. When we figured out what Avi Loeb was doing, we realized we could duplicate what he was doing for about 1/10 of the cost. So, that tech, you don't have to spend a bundle on it to get good results. And, people say it all the time, just looking up, is free. And I think utilizing that is number one because people are looking down at their technology too much.
Yeah, Dan is the only guy I know skywatching looking down. He goes in helicopters and he films down. He films the same type of stuff you see at Skinwalker Ranch, where he has actually videos he sent me of UAPs coming out of the mountains and then flying around just that mountain peak. And if it was bullshit, these guys know me. These guys that I work with here in Phoenix know me. I don't believe in a lot of shit. And if it's crap, I'll just come out and say, nope, dude, these are fucking birds or something. And I don't believe that. I believe he's actually filming something weird from these helicopters, and his hit rate's like 40 or 50% of the time. He's went up about 9 trips. He's came back 5 times with the UAP. That's better than us looking up. If we're going to Sedona, we go there 9 times. We're lucky we come back 5 times with UAP footage and not empty-handed. So that this fucking hit ratio looking down is off the charts. It shouldn't be like that. As I said, when Clive was interviewing me, only twice this happened where it was told, we're going to go out, we're going to film UAP, Phoenix Lights, and in that helicopter trip. I actually came back. My job was to go out there and film whatever was in front of me. I did it, came back with shit I couldn't explain. Most of the time when we go out sky watching, it's just it's persistence. Keep doing it, and eventually, you seem to get rewarded like a token. Like, well, here's something, And a lot of times, it's when you're packing up that gear or you're unloading that gear, and that's what you fuckers. They're tricksters, That so I try to, they're one step in front of me. I try to stay 2 steps in front of the impossible. One thing I'm going to try and do this Sunday is I got this other computer is not really doing much, but I got a new capture card coming in. I'm going to split some of these resources that I have here, some of these cameras, into this other computer, and then I'm going to upload it, and I'm going to try a 24-hour live stream and see what the fuck happens. The idea is if this works, I'll have a 24/7 live camera. It'll be for people who subscribe to the channel. I might have to charge them like $6 because this will take a lot of electricity, a lot of resources to maintain. But then when I'm using the 4K camera, the radar, whatever, they can watch with. So that's something I'm going to try. It may not work because I have like I got a gig down, but only 110 megabyte up. And depending on what's going on, if I'm gaming or watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre or horror movies, I might fuck that up. So we're going to do that. I'm going to do that experiment, see if that works. I know if I had fiber, I'd be able to pull it off. And they are doing down the street fiber installation. So I'm hoping they fucking hit my house. They hit my house, boom, live camera all the time. Because I could, with fiber, you can do like 6 live cameras at once with that upload stream. So that's
Also
what I'm working on this
consider,
weekend. We're going to wrap up, Tim. Man, you were great with the gear. I definitely want to bring you back on some more shows. Maybe, hopefully in a couple weeks, we'll talk about Utah. We'll talk about some more gear. You're just an endless supply of fucking great information.
Well, thanks for having me. It's definitely a fun show. I'm always in your audience and eager to learn. I appreciate that you follow the motto, which is ABS, always be shooting. You're always shooting. You're always searching the skies. And it's that sense of natural curiosity that you have that I share with you that makes us brothers in arms in this. And I'm sure we've got a lot of partners out there. Thanks for having me on. It's been fun.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for coming on. We're like I said, next week's going to be Triangular Craft and Boomerang, all upscaled into 4K with some analysis of that. And then if you don't have family issues, we'll bring you back. A week after that, we could talk. It's up to us. Gear. We could talk Utah. We could talk Dicenium glass. We could talk UFODAP. People don't know, but I'll let them know now. Tim has a UFODAP camera at the Bradshaw Ranch. So that's another thing I think that he's sponsoring or paying for it. So Tim isn't out there, beating his fucking chest going, look at me. Here's my shit. Maybe I'm doing that, but Tim isn't. Tim is very humble. He keeps his information really close to the vest, and he only gives out his information to look at if he trusts people. So he's not like Avi Loeb out there, shooting shotguns for fucking likes and subscribes and saying, hit me up with money. Tim don't ask you for money. Tim is the guy with the money. His email is like money bags and shit. It's not Tim Senior at Gmail. It's fucking money bags. I mean, he drives a Lamborghini to go get fucking bread at the grocery store. The man is a fucking legend. He is. Tim is a fucking legend. So proud to have you on the show. Thanks for all the people. Uncle Dave, Gobstop, Gray Owl, Shelly was here. It's so many fucking people, new people. True Seeker, one of my number one supporters, Emilio. Thanks for that. Well, a lot of the people that watch also subscribe to the channel, which is huge. Thank you very much. That puts gas in my caravan. Not pulling up a Lamborghini to the Skywatch yet. Maybe someday if Brandon Frugal ever comes around and delivers, some cash. But let's wrap up. I'm going to let you have the last word, and then we'll roll the credits.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I wanted to just say, I see that I'm, causing some waves out there, but I'll tell you what, I really enjoy the investigation. And if I ever see technology out there, such as Avi Loeb's, I want to duplicate it. So I can support their science. So guys that are out there doing great work, I'm trying to support their work, right? And so that is what Tom is all about. He sees great guys out there. He likes to support them too and highlight them. I think we've been behind this topic long enough to be frustrated by what the public sees. Anything that I ever find that's interesting, I make public. But you know what? I got to be honest, 99.9% of what I've investigated has yielded me nothing. Nothing. And the little bits that I find interesting, Tom is aware of, and he decides to make, public that way. I think sharing the very cream of the crop of data is the important part, because sifting out all the noise is as important, I think, as delivering every bit of information. Over to you, Tom, and thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem. You're one of the guys I've been wanting to have on here for a while. If you can drop your email in the description, so some of the people in the chat can probably hit you up for some of that Lamborghini gas money. This has been a great episode 44. I'd love to have you back on 46 or 7 or 8 or 9 or whatever the fuck our schedules allow. We got a lot of work to do. We got dicenium glass research to do. More different cameras, different techniques. I need to get back into the night shot with the day, the polarizers and whatnot. But yeah, we're gonna wrap up 2 hours. It's been a great show, great audience, and that's why I put this together, because while I'm still healthy, I want to put out as much information as I can so people can walk in our footsteps if they want. They can follow our craziness. And if they're not going to watch in the footsteps, they could be entertained just by watching what the hell we're doing. Because every dollar that comes in here gets spent on gear, and I'm spending money on equipment and whatnot. And I'm telling you, the fucking nursing home ain't getting that money. It's going for you guys. It's going for 4K Skywatch. And even if I had the cash for Lamborghini, I'd still probably spend it on goddamn gear. We'll see you guys next time on 4K Skywatch, and we're going to talk about boomerangs. All right,